I was in the 82nd Airborne for 4 years. I was medically discharged after I got hurt on a jump. Come to find out I have hemophilia, which I never knew. So I think it was my 10th jump after my first deployment. When I got back, got hurt, had some torn muscles in my lower abdominal, ended up getting rushed to the emergency room, was in a coma for 3.5 days. Basically, that was my experience in the military, was basic deployment, come back, hospital. So we were in Zabul. It was just our platoon and a bunch of A&A, like in the middle of nowhere. Like we had one of the biggest battle spaces of our entire battalion. Honestly, like it felt like camping to some degree, like dangerous camping. It was 40 guys, Alaskan tents, like walls made out of mud. To me, it was almost like the most primal way of living, of just like, you have a purpose, this is what it is. You wake up, you do it. When you don't have to do it, you relax, you work out, you joke with your friends, you have a good time, or you don't have a good time. Guard duties, patrol shifts, things like that. And honestly, if my entire 4 years was just being in Afghanistan, I would have preferred that way more than being just like in garrison at the 82nd. So I was never in a firefight. We had a couple indirect fires, a couple mortar shots. The roads that were around us were just littered with IEDs. I was a saw gunner, bottom of the totem pole, whatever. So where we were was kind of like a main route to Pakistan. And it was kind of understood that because we were the 82nd Airborne, they weren't going to fuck with us, because they didn't want us bringing more people in to disrupt what they were doing in and out of Pakistan. Yeah, so, the med board process it's pretty much like, hey, you're useless here, let's get this over with as fast as possible. And it wasn't like, from my leadership standpoint, just like an overall feel of the military was kind of like, you're like, oh, who's gonna do this bullshit stuff? Like, oh, go get the med board guys or whatever. And I'm not saying that isn't a thing that should happen, because there wasn't much for me to do. Granted, I was the rear D NCOIC of my company as an E5, surrounded by like E7s and lieutenants and captains, which was cool to like see that side of the military. But at the same time, it was tough for me to deal with the fact that, I was this infantry guy. I wanted to go to selection. Like I had this whole plan laid out to, go to special forces, do that whole thing, get hurt on a jump. It was quite a shock to find out like, hey, this thing you want to do, make a career out of, just got taken away from you. And all of a sudden, all of that's over. I went home on convalescent leave for like 2 months. I had some nerve damage in my right leg. And I never really processed things that I didn't realize were kind of festering inside. Like the feeling of not being wanted, or just like, oh, you're trash, get out of here. And nobody said those things. But it's kind of like, you have this plan, you have this job, you wake up one day and somebody goes, you're not essential anymore. And then like, you're almost excited because you get to go home, sit around, do nothing. And you're like, this is great, I'm getting paid to do nothing. But over time, at least for me, it was that lack of purpose just kind of like ate away at me. It's been maybe over the last 4 or 5 years where I've kind of like actually dove into like doing like self-exploration, because it was almost like I just kind of pushed things to the side, like, put them in a closet, close the door, and hope that the door didn't open and all the shit spilled out. And I think slowly over time, stuff had started to fall out. The people that I find that like really hold on to like, I'm a veteran, I deserve these things, seem to be the people that really struggle, at least from my experience, kind of with transitioning. And I think I held on to that for a while without acknowledging I was holding on to it. Because I wanted to show people I was a veteran, but not in the way that I was like a broken, medically discharged veteran. But yeah, kind of realizing like that part of my life is over, and it can inform what I do now, but it shouldn't control it. Because when that just like festers inside and you can't just let go of it, you're afraid to let it out because you don't know how people are going to take it. Having people around you that you trust, that you can honestly like cut yourself open and pour yourself out to, and they can kind of help guide you. And for me, that's the friends that I have here. For other people, maybe that's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, a family member, a brother, a sister. Maybe it's, hey, let's go get a coffee, and you start to expose like your vulnerabilities and open up to them so they can see like, oh, he's vulnerable, he can open up. Maybe it's okay if I do. Because I think that's the hardest thing, especially as a soldier. Because vulnerability, like I think people take it as death almost. Like, I have to have my armor on, I have to wear this, I have to be in my Humvee, I have to be protected. And I think that's when everything gets bottled up, and at some point that turns into something negative, like a suicide, hurting yourself, hurting another person, drinking and driving, doing something destructive. I know for me, actually talking about it is the best way for me to like work through what it really is. Those true friends, those true family members, they'll find a way to at least do what they can to like get you on a path that they believe will help. And it might not be the path, but it might be the path that gets you to the path. That's part of the reason why I moved to nonprofit. Michael Blevins and I, pretty good friends. We did a podcast together a long time ago, and I called him when I was living in Reno. And I was just like, man, I'm lost. But I said it in like I'm a power lifter that needs to get in shape. Can you help me? And he took it as like, you don't have an identity. Like the tribe that you had was taken away from you, and you need to like start working through those things. And that's kind of like a broad spectrum of the discussion that probably has lasted a year and a half now. So I think relationships, I think they should be challenging because they ask hard questions or they're hard on me. Like I think that's actually love. And I think the people that are just like, yeah, you're doing fine, and like kind of parrot the same narrative like you're basically talking in a mirror. Not that, they're not friends, but I don't know if those are the people that you should be trying to learn from or grow with. I think it's important that people realize that they are valuable and they can add to this world, and they just kind of like need to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And maybe it's not a big step, it's a baby step, and then another baby step. And maybe that's just reading a book and then watching a movie and then going to work and having a conversation with somebody and a cup of coffee, and just continually trying to be like, okay, I need to move forward. It's going to be slow. I kind of feel like a snake that shed his skin, or if you want to get even like more hippie into that, like a caterpillar that's like blossomed into a butterfly. And I can't believe I'm saying words like that, but I literally like, I can't describe to people the amount of weight that I feel like is no longer on my shoulders. And it is like the most unbelievably freeing moment I've ever had. Like whoever I was 2 weeks ago is for sure not who I am anymore. So I think just continuing the process of whatever it looks like for me, coaching clients of all different people, it's not just athletes for me anymore. It's people that want to work through things that, are more than just exercise. Like the symposium you guys are out here is called Fitness is Fucked, because it is. Because everybody thinks fitness is dumbbell thrusters and burpees. It's, what is the emotional ramifications of that? How can you show somebody that the effort you put into a workout can be the same effort you can put into your life. And the experiences hopefully can help inform things I can do in the future like this, speaking to veterans, clients that I have, and using those scenarios to help, bolster their experiences, help them when they're in a dark place.